Hi, good evening. Welcome to A Foreigner in the Philippines. Well, on one of our advice section letters was a gentleman who was having problems with his wife, who apparently had taken to eating 20 chicken nuggets, or should I give it its proper title, McNuggets. Everything is Muck, isn't it? It's McCoke, it's, well, everything. McBill, if you like. And someone said that I was terribly into shaming people who are fat. We were answering one particular letter. Now, don't think that I'm about to apologize, because I hold my opinions, and while I try not to be abusive or insulting, it does come out as my opinion, and it's just my opinion. Now, why would I think that I should say anything against fat? Fat is what we, and most people know this, fat is what we store for the bad times. The body stores fat because if it starts to feel that it's going to be starved, it will clamp down on building lean muscle, which we need to burn fat, and it will store. Now, one of the most common things that women get into is that yo-yo, back and forth, or the pendulum, whichever way you look at it. The roller coaster is up and down, in and out, over and out, and they go on a diet which means usually depriving themselves of the necessary food for them to be able to survive. So an average woman probably needs about, let me see, from memory I'm going, and I'm sure that there will be an avalanche of messages telling me that I'm wrong, because that's my job. But say 2,000, 1,500, 2,000 calories. Now, how do you measure that? Well, if you think about it, a can of Coke is about 100 calories. Now, somebody in their defense said a Coke from the McDonald's it's not 100 calories because it's all ice. Well, that's very true, but then there's a lot more in there than you would have in a can of Coke. So I think it's fairly safe to say that certainly a large Coke is going to be at least 100 calories. I'm thinking that it's closer. If you get a supersized Coke, I think that you're looking at 200 calories. Now, what's that in practical terms, 200 calories? Well, a meal, a reasonable meal that would have everything that you would need might be, say, 400 calories. Now, all of this can be disputed. No, it's not. This is it should be 300. It should be 500. It should be 700. I'm 6'2" and I weigh 280 pounds of solid muscle, and I need more than 400 calories. And that's absolutely true. You would. But most people who are leading a fairly sedentary life cannot burn large calorie meals. And at the last count, a Big Mac, I know that we're talking about unhealthy food now rather than talking about the calorie content of regular food, which would be good for you. But so many people, especially in America, lead that kind of life just to dispel the rumor that America is some kind of heaven where you can go and boy, the streets are paved with gold, as they used to say about when Dick Whittington was making his way towards London, that the streets were paved with gold. Somebody seems to have put out the rumor that you can go to America and easily earn money. Let me tell you, you can be extremely clever and earn a lot of money in America. But Americans work hard for their money. If it is to be said that Americans have 2 cars, have big houses, have this, they work for it. Americans are to be admired for the sheer volume of work that they get through. Now, unfortunately, what this does is it takes away the normal time that people would have to plan and eat a healthy diet. Now let's look at the word diet and I think change the way that we're going to agree that the word diet is being used. Normally what people say when they say I'm on a diet, it means that they can't eat any of the food that they want to. In other words, a diet is the same letter starting as deprivation. So the big skill if you are on a diet is just to try to feel as if you've had a good meal. Now, one of the movies, the movie which I feel you should look at if you're trying to lose a lot of weight, is Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead. I keep recommending this movie because it's so good. Now, there's no point in getting upset at the title, Fat, Sick, and I'm not fat, sick and nearly dead. I'm quite healthy. I'm just a little bit plump. Probably 100 pounds plump. But, now, Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead is the success story of a man who was, in his own estimation, fat, sick and nearly dead. He was on many, many different medications. He was eating all of the wrong food. He was eating as much food as he wanted, and if not more food than he would ever want. So, his condition was that he was overweight. And his condition was because he had eaten all the wrong foods, as all of you guys who know about eating good food and being healthy will be very quick to stand up and say, well, you can't eat half a kilo of ice cream even if you want to. Okay, so he took the bull by the horns. He bought himself a 3-month trip to America. Obviously the guy was well off, a lot more well off than you or I maybe, or well certainly I. And he went on the road. He went on the road with a cameraman doing videos, and he made this movie. And the movie that he made was the chronicling of his journey around America in an SUV, just a small vehicle that he could carry, a battery charged juicer. So he bought fresh vegetables everywhere that he went, and he lived for 3 months on the juicer, and the weight dropped off him. Now, it's an incredible story, but one of the things in it is not just about his success, but about the success of somebody that he persuaded to go the juicer way, right? No, I don't have shares in the juicer factory or manufacturers, but I did buy a juicer. Now, our fat man in this movie is a truck driver who was getting up there, if my memory serves me right, getting up there, if not at 400 pounds, was very close to it. He was so fat, sorry to use that politically incorrect word, fat, but he was fat. He was very fat to the degree that he could not walk further than from the motel that he was staying, from his truck to his room. Now, when he saw this man, the Australian who was doing his tour of America, and he spoke to him, he didn't think that he could do it. He said, you're probably right, but I can't do it. And the Aussie said to him, if you decide that you can, you give me a call. Here's my number. Give me a call and I'll help you. And that's what this man did. He called the Aussie, and the Aussie did no more than get on a plane, buy a juicer, give it to the man, set him up in a very modest but nice lakeside motel for the duration of his juicing experience. And he stayed with him long enough to give him some kind of a start on exercise. And guess what the man could do when he started? The best that he could manage was a 5-minute walk. 5 minutes. I'm guessing that he was like the sumo wrestlers who can't walk 100 yards because their thighs are so big that they chafe against each other. Sorry, I'm not turning you on, am I? Right. So he stayed with him and said, it's up to you. I can't make you do this. But he did make it easy for him in that I believe he set up the delivery of all of the fresh vegetables that would be needed to take this man through his experience. And the man stuck with it, and he lost an untold amount of weight, to the extent that he was able to give up his job as a truck driver, becoming ever fatter and more obese, and he started to talk to people about the importance of shedding excess weight. Now, he had shed, as I said, a huge amount of weight. So he found a very novel but very compelling way of illustrating, of demonstrating the amount of weight that he'd lost. Not by saying, I lost 100 pounds or 120 or 150 pounds. He didn't do that. He set up a stand where he was talking to his audiences. And on it, he put, I think, like I'm saying, I'm going from memory again, and it's a while since I read that, since I saw that movie, about 6 bowling balls. Now, if you're in America, well, anywhere in the world, if you have bowled and you picked up one of those bowling balls, this is not something that you do bicep exercises with. It is placed through with the fingers in the holes, and it's one thing that you can do to just swing it like a pendulum. And you swing it and you hurl it, if possible, down that long alleyway to knock the bowl, the pins over. Right, so he found the reason and the motivation for regaining his weight. Now, he tried also to encourage his brother, who was also obese. Now, here's the rub. His brother said, no way. I like my beer. I like my this. I like my Big Mac beef burgers. I like my way of life. So, I'll take the consequences. The consequences hit much sooner than the brother knew. And he had a heart attack and had to have, I think, a bypass. So, next thing you know it, he's on the juicer. Now, for those who think that perhaps I was offensive, I know that one man who has had his own struggle with weight said that I was a shamer. Let's look just at anecdotal. I'm not a nutritionist, and I'm not a bodybuilder. I'm just a guy who looks at the body as a machine. And all of the moving parts of your machine are designed in a certain way. Now, if you look at my wrist, it's maybe 8 inches. I have maybe maybe 7.5 now because I'm an old guy. 7.5 to 8 inch wrist, and it attaches to a very modest looking forearm. Look. Now I'm quite atrophied now at my age because I haven't been a good boy and I haven't been exercising, so I haven't been doing weight training, which I keep I'm not sure whether it's a threat or the promise to go back to regain some strength and some lean muscle mass. Now, the wrist joint that I have that's on the end of my arm is capable of doing whatever it needs to do when holding something and gripping something. I'm made to grip something. I'm also made to grip something that's heavier. Look. And I'm made to grip, where is it? Kids. I'm made to grip something. Is it upside down? No, it's not. So now I can handle that. Right, now it's only 10 pounds. Just imagine if one of your joints that could easily handle 10 pounds or 15 pounds, like your neck, is now handling a hell of a lot more. Just imagine that if, well, you won't have to imagine, just remember what it was like to be a teenager or early 20s. Let's put you into early 20s. Now in early 20s you were probably playing football, you were playing maybe hockey or volleyball or tennis or badminton, or you were running, or you were doing things which tested your body. So the joints were beefed, because when you start to put stress, good stress on the muscles, as you start to do this, where you're actually doing some kind of an exercise like that, you imagine that you've got like an elastic band, and it's stretched between one point of the ligament and another, one point of the bone. It's attached to the bone, and as you exercise and put pressure on that muscle, the bone hears the message, uh-oh, gotta beef up a little. So instead of being quite so light, the bone increases in its density. Now, everything increases because you've got lean muscle mass, and the lean muscle mass then deals with that. As I say, I'm not a bodybuilder, I'm not an expert, I'm just going on the fact that I know that if I go in to have my car repaired, and the man puts on a spring which is designed for a bicycle, I'll say to him, that's not strong enough for the pressure that's going on. When I was putting too much weight into the little red truck, I took it to the repair shop and I said, I want you to put an extra spring in the back spring setup, because it's taking more than it's really designed to do. I still continued to abuse it, all right, admittedly. Now, just imagine when you see someone, and this may be you, and I'm sorry because I'm not intending to be offensive, but look at, if you are one of those people who has a terrific amount more weight on than you should, look at what you're doing to your body. And this is why health is one of the main things. Now, if you've allowed your gut to get further and further away, if that belly button that used to be very, very close to home is no longer close to home and has, who knows, 5 or 6 inches of pure fat between you and home, or between the belly button and home, then you've got some work to do for your health. Now, I've been accused of being a party pooper, all right? When I was in a band, I didn't drink and I didn't smoke, and so I wasn't invited to the bar to have fun. Hey, let's go and have a drink and get a buzz on and have a good time. It wasn't my idea of a good time. But the guys that went considered that it was a good time. Now, you are taking something on credit. As soon as you start to abuse your body, and in abuse comes overeating, storing fat, not exercising, not eating the right food. Now, you're taking all of that on credit from your body. Your body is saying to you, okay, we're in our youth right now and we can handle this. As soon as you start to turn 50, the bills will start coming in. Believe me. And if you are already 50, you'll be nodding your head and saying, that's true. Get to 55. Atrophy is taking place seriously. If you don't know what atrophy is, then look at how strong you used to be and how strong you are right now. When I was working as an artist, I had a fully equipped workshop, and I used to work often with 3/4 inch plywood, 8x4 or 4x8 sheets of 3/4 inch marine ply, quite heavy, and I would be able to lift those onto the table saw, my extended table saw, and push it through under control without any danger. Over the years, I felt, because I wasn't willing to do the extra training, I did the equivalent of taking a step up in my waist size pants. So instead of, you know the feeling, you used to fit into, say, a 31 or 32 inch waist, and now it's 34, and that was last year, and this year, really for comfort, it should be 35. I decided that I would do the equivalent, and instead of using 3/4 inch plywood, I bought 2 sheets of plywood. One was 1/2 inch and the other was 1/4 inch, and I used to laminate those in a clever way so that I could laminate them together and do the pieces that needed to be 3/4 inch without having to lift those heavy boards onto the table saw. So, you've got some work to do. Now, why shouldn't you just continue as you are? Why shouldn't you listen to the people that say, I think you may be overweight, but I still think that you're pretty? Why shouldn't you go along with that? Because, and this is only my answer, because when you get to 55, 60, 65, being pretty is not an option. Being attractive is an option. But if you've abused yourself heavily, your prettiness may be long gone south, and you will be relying on mature good looks. Now, one time when I was without a partner, before I ever came to the Philippines and met my lovely wife, someone's wife said to me, well, you will be able to get a partner, I'm sure. You're good looking enough. So, what you have to ask yourself is, to the degree that you have abused yourself and done nothing to stop it, ask yourself, am I good looking enough? And what does that mean? Well, it means that your gut isn't hanging over your pants. I actually spoke to someone in Florida, and he assured me that he had the same waist as he used to have. Now, he actually had a waist of about probably 38 or maybe even 40. We could have taken one pair of his shorts and had them made into 2 pairs of shorts for me. But his belt was down below his belly and somewhere above his family jewels. But he kidded himself that he was still the same measurement. So it's time for an own up. And no one's going to do this for you. I'll tell you something else as well. No one's going to feel your discomfort for you. And when they finish telling you, don't worry about that weight, you're cuddly, you're jovial, you're good fun, you're all of those things. Your body will not forgive you. It's not, if you are at that age that I just mentioned, those ages, your body will not forgive you. And life will not be fun. Now, for whatever I did right, I'm still only about 150 pounds. And if I lie to myself, I'm 5'9", but probably I'm lucky now in my old age to reach 5'8" or 5'8.5". But for whatever I did right, I'm not overweight and I'm not suffering those maladies, those symptoms which people suffer when they get overweight. And what are some of those symptoms? Well, certainly your digestive system will not be as good. Your heart rate will not be as good. Why? Because, damn it, it's working harder than it really needs to. If you've looked at that Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead, and I urge you to do that, look at those bowling balls that he was carrying round. He demonstrates how much weight he was carrying by looking at those huge bowling balls, which weigh, I don't know what they weigh. Is it 15 or 20? It's certainly, let me see, probably about 10 or 12 pounds, just a guess. I'm not a bowler. So, how many of those bowling balls are you going to be carrying around when you watch the movie? Now, Fat, Sick and Nearly Dead is not a doom and gloom movie. It's a success story of someone who did what he had to do and the weight dropped off him. Now, was it just weight? No, it wasn't. He kept exercising. Now, here's the crux. I told you about the density of the bone. The least that you exercise, the less dense your bone will be. And if you're a woman, this will touch on osteoporosis, isn't it? That means lightening of the bones and is prone to the hip breakages and hip replacement. So there's that you need to be paying attention to if you're lucky enough to be approaching these older age limits. Right, there's that. There's blood pressure. Your blood pressure will be going up. If you've been smoking, your arteries will be lessened. The inside will be going from this down to this. And the heart will be struggling to do its job. If you've eaten too much sugar, then you're looking at diabetes. And if you've looked if you've been abusing sugar, which I got to put my hand up on this one, it takes a great deal because I'm a chocoholic, and the only way I can control that, I'm ashamed to say, is to tell Beth, can you just hide those chocolates, please? So, all of these will come with being overweight. So, will being pretty or cuddly or good fun or comfortable with your size, will all of those justifiers, will all of those reasons for why you are as you are, be enough to still be able to enjoy life? That's my question. And now that I'm 79, so I'm in my 80th year, I can still walk I'm bragging now, but I could still walk 5 or 10 miles. I can tell you that now. I can still lift stuff. I don't have to be a pudding. I don't have to be one of these people who has to have everything done for him. I don't pale at the idea of lifting a few kilos. And I'm not afraid to do some exercise and some weights and have a full life. And because of the fact that I'm married to a 29-year-old energetic woman, I probably put in a longer work day than a lot of you 50-year-olds who haven't retired yet. So I must be doing something right. And part of what I do right is to stay off the junk food whenever I possibly can resist it, not to binge too much on chocolate and candies and stuff like that, to be willing to walk, to be willing to exercise, be willing to have fun, to be willing to take some chances. Now, if you can think in your 80th year that you will be willing to take the plunge, and if you haven't seen that, have a look at it. Terence Takes the Plunge. That's where you are dropped a couple of 100 feet and then swing out over a huge chasm. It was thrilling. Now, a lot of people said, think about your heart. I get warnings all the time which are based on other people's fears about where their own life is going. What do I get warned about? Well, I get warned about stroke. I get warned you shouldn't be driving. I get warned about heart attack. I get warned about keeping an aspirin under my tongue if ever I start to get out of breath. I get warned about all of these things. I get warned about my blood pressure. I get warned about diabetes. I get warned, as I say, you shouldn't be doing this, you shouldn't be doing that. And I'm doing all of those things, not out of bravado, but because it never occurs to me that I shouldn't be able to do those things. And in spite of what everybody thinks about those those shellfish fun videos and the what is it, the octopus, whatever, I don't eat that stuff that I know is not good for me. But I'm not on any kind of no medication at all. If I get a bit of a headache, I just see it through. I'm not good on paracetamol or ibuprofen or all of these things which will just put you right in a minute. I don't believe in them. I don't take them. And because of that viewpoint, I attribute that to my good health. A lot of people I know will be saying, even as they look at me now, well, you've got good genes. No, I haven't, actually. My father died 5 years ago, my age. My mother died about the same time. My brother died when he was 50-something, and my sister, my only sister, died when she was, I think, 72 or 73. None of them had good health, and all of them abused their bodies in some kind of way. So, if you think that I'm giving you the voice of doom, well, I'm giving you a heads up on why you should be preparing in the best possible way for a healthy life in your later years. I was hoping that you would think I'm doing you a favour. So, I look forward to all of the the hate messages, okay? They're saying that I'm trying to shame you into doing it. I'm trying to warn you into the fact that having heavy weight on is not good for your body. It's not good for your joints. It's not good for your bones. It's not good for your digestion, your inner organs, kidney, liver, heart. None of them are enjoying your excess weight. And if they could all speak, I think they might be saying yes to what I'm trying to tell you. Okay, time to shut my mouth and let you get on with your life. Even if you have actually paused for a minute. Get that movie. It is much more eloquent than I am, and probably not nearly as offensive. But let me leave you with this. I worked with a young man in California, and he was amazed at my age, which was in the 70s then. And he said, "Wow, I hope I'm like you when I'm looking forward to being an old man. Because when you're an old man, you can be cranky, you can have a bad mood, you can swear now and then, you can burp and you can fart, and nobody will think anything of it." Well, I promise that I won't be doing any burping, and I won't be farting. Well, not out loud. So I won't tell if you don't tell. Bye for now. This is a foreigner